Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Tindangle Yugioh deck profile for post-King's Court. We finally got Tindangle Duels in the latest Yu-Gi-Oh! Booster set. It's a really awesome card and one we've been waiting a long time for to fully complete the Tindangle deck. This card just adds so much support and setup for the Tindangle deck that a lot of people were not even wanting to play this deck until this card was released in the TCG. But finally, with this card finally out, we're able to give a fully updated Tindangle deck. This was the deck used by Zaizen in the Vrains anime, Aoi Zaizen's older brother, and it was his main focus of the deck for the few duels he had in the series. He was able to use the deck quite well, especially in combo with his little sister. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the Tindangle monsters being one of the most crucial cards for setup in the deck, we're running 3 Tindangle Duels. A level 5 monster, when it's flipped, you can send 1 spell or trap from your deck to the graveyard. And if this card is sent from the hand or deck to the graveyard, you can target 1 Tindangle monster in your graveyard except for Tindangle Duels and special summon it in face down defense position. You can only use each effect of the preceding effects of Tindangle Duels once per turn, and a Tindangle Link monster that use this card's material can make 3 attacks during each battle phase. So this overall power with this card is what makes this card a 3 of in the deck. It just sets up all your plays with your Tindangle spell or traps, but it also gives you the option to have the finishing attack with your main go-to Link 3 monster for the Tindangles, which is Tindangle Acute Cerberus. So all this setup available with this card, just being able to send one of your Tindangle spell or traps and then set it up with this card, makes it a definite 3 of with just how easy it is to set it up on the field with a bunch of your other cards in the deck. For more of your monster setup, I'm also running 3 Tindangle base Gardna. If you control a face down defense position monster, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense position. You can only special summon Tindangle base Gardna once per turn this way. And if a monster is normal or special summon and it's basically pointed to an opponent's Link monster, except during the damage step, you contribute this card to special summon 1 Tindangle monster from your hand or deck in attack position or face down defense position. So this is another way to set up your Tindangle Duels on the field using base Gardna for that set option. And then when you flip this card up, you're given the spell and trap card and set up for more of your Link plays with this card altogether. And base card, I just need you to have one other set card on the field to use. So it's good just for that monster to set up because your Link 3 Tindangle monster basically requires 3 Tindangle monsters to summon out. For some of the other lower level Tindangle monsters, I'm also running 3 Tindangle Angel. With the flip effect of you can special summon 1 flip monster from your hand or graveyard in face down defense position except for Tindangle Angel. Then if your opponent's battle phase and the battle phase, and then you can only use this effect of Tindangle Angel once per turn. So it's a good way to play defensive against your opponent, basically ending the battle phase when this card's flip face up, giving you another monster on the field to use from your hand or graveyard, and then being able to use that monster. Basically your opponent will have to destroy that monster. Otherwise, you'll just be able to flip it up during your next turn. Since it ends the battle phase, you'll be in control of the flip summon, and your opponent will have to basically go off of that play and the shortage of their own battle phase with this card. I also run 3 Tindangle Trinity. I really like the low-level monsters in the deck just for the overall setup that they provide for all of your plays. With your Tindangle Trinity having the flip of you can special summon 1 Tindangle base Gardna from your deck. So it just sets up your main go-to ace monster aside from Duels on the field that much more quickly. And then if this card was flip face up and your Tindangle monster cannot be destroyed by battle, and if this card is sent to the graveyard as Link material for the Link summon of a Tindangle monster, you can add 1 Gurgon's End from your deck to your hand. And if you do, send 1 spell or trap from your deck to the graveyard. So that setup can give you more search for a bunch of other different cards you may run in the deck, including Euler's Circuit, which can just search out another copy of itself. But Trinity can be relied on for more special summoning and also just that setup of being able to then add more cards when you send the spell and traps from your deck to the graveyard. And then for some of the lower numbers for the Tindangle monsters, I also run 2 Tindangle Protector. You can change this face-down card to face-up card to face-down defense position, and you control to face-up defense position, and then all those monsters that are Tindangle monsters, you can add up to their names of Tindangle cards from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of Tindangle Protector once per turn. So with this card, you have setup to rely on by being able to change 3 face-down defense position monsters to face-up, giving you faster options for the ones you might have just summoned onto the field already. And then also being able to add up to that many Tindangle cards from your deck to your hand. I only run 2 of this card because you have to have the already set up presence of Tindangle monsters on the field to fully utilize this card. So it really doesn't help much when you early game draw it. I want to have that relied more on the fact that I run the higher number Tindangle monsters to set those cards up first on the field and then use Protector for all that search power also. And then for some of the one-ofs, I run 1 Tindangle Intruder and 1 Tindangle Hound. Tindangle Hound is more of a boss monster in the deck, being able just to have more of the attack gain for your main go-to link monster. And you can summon this card back onto the field to reuse with some of the spells we run in the deck also. And then each monster your opponent controls loses 1,000 attack for each monster linked to it. So it's not co-linked either. Remember that. For the Tindangle monsters, there'll be a few cards that specify this. It's more just for when a link monster points to a monster, they're linked, not co-linked. And then with Tindangle Intruder, you can add 1 Tindangle card from your deck to your hand when it's flipped. And when this card is normal summoned, you can send 1 Tindangle card from your deck to the graveyard. And if it's a monster special summon to your field and face down defense position while this card's in the graveyard, you can special summon this card and face down defense position. So all of these one-ofs are more for the fact that they can be set up in the graveyard to use and recycled. And then you just need the one-ofs. If you open them up early game, and these are like multiples in your hand, they really don't help you much for the actual play you can go for in the deck. You just need the one-ofs for each one, and then just set them up with your other Tindangle cards. And then as for the non-Tindangle monster I run the deck, I didn't want to run any hand traps. I want to focus solely on the flip effects for the deck. So I'm running 3 Escape Ghost. Just, once again, another flip monster that can give you resources to use to go into the many different other link monsters that we're running in the extract. I know in the last video I ran Ash Blossom, but I didn't really see me using it as much. I wanted to focus more on the actual Tindangle cards for all the flip summons. And then Scapegoat is just an added option for more resources to use. Like I said, being able to even give you monsters to, if need be, tribute out some of your other Tindangle monsters, including the 2 tribute 4 cards like Tindangle Hound. And that is it for the monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. Running 3 of the continuous spell, Nigale's Protection. You Tindangle monsters in your main monster zone cannot be destroyed by battle or your opponent's card effects. And once per turn, if your Tindangle monster inflicts battle damage to your opponent, the damage is doubled. And you can banish this card from your graveyard and discard 1 Tindangle card to add 1 Nigale's Protection from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of Nigale's Protection once per turn. So this continuous spell just gives you more of that protection setup for all of your different Tindangle monsters. I run 3 of it, so you have the added search for this card if it's ever destroyed and sent to the graveyard. So you have more and more options to add it back to your hand also. I also run 3 of the field spell, which is Euler's Circuit. Your opponent's monsters can attack if you control 3 or more Tindangle monsters. And once per turn, during your standby phase, you can target 1 Tindangle monster you control and give control of it to your opponent. You can banish this card from your graveyard and discard 1 Tindangle card to add 1 Euler's Circuit from your deck to your hand. So that's what's great about the Tindangle spell cards. They all have search power to search out each other. So being able to send it to the graveyard with cards like Tindangle Duels just makes it that much more of an easier card to add to your hand and to reuse. And being able to give your opponent control of your Tindangle monster means you can position it where you want, so the link arrow is pointing to the monster where you gave to your opponent also. For some of the newer spells, just from the last video also, running 3 Stairs of Mail. This continuous spell, during your main phase, you can activate this effect. Discard 1 Tindangle card. If you do, apply 1 of these effects to change 1 face-down defense position monster you control to face-up attack position, or to change 1 face-up attack to face-down defense position. In the turn, you cannot discard another card with the same name of the effect of Stair of Mails, even if this card leaves the field. So, with this card, you have the option to discard a Tindangle card, and then either basically reset up the card, or flip it face-up and give you the option for that play. And what it says before, the same card, so you can't just flip the one card and then flip up the same name card in the same turn. This card is just meant to reset up all your different cards if, let's say, you already used a Tindangle card, and then just be able to set it back onto the field again. For some of the more generic spells that I run in the deck, I also run 2 World Legacy Succession with the link arrows we have for our Tindangle Acute Cerberus. We just need a way to special summon monsters back to the arrows that that monster has, so then you can set up more and more of your plays on the field for you to use. I also, for the one-ofs, run 1 Monster Reborn, easy special summoning, just like World Legacy Succession to the link arrows. Foolish Burial to set up some of the different Tindangle monsters in the graveyard. Foolish Burial Goods to set up either of our spells or even our trap traps that are coming up in the graveyard to give us more search. Just adding this is basically another searcher for one of those spells to use. I also run 1 Call by the Grave, 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, and 1 Terraforming for the field spell search, destruction of our opponent's back row, and also just stopping my opponent's own hand traps that they may use to stop my Tindangle special summons or even setup in the graveyard. And as for the traps in the deck, I run 2 Gurgon's End. This trap card, target 1 Tindangle Link monster you control. Equip this card to it. It cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. Also, your opponent cannot target it with card effects. And once per turn, if there are monsters in all the zones equipped to the monster card points to, if there are still monsters in all zones the equipped monster points to, you can destroy this card and all those monsters, then inflict damage to your opponent equal to the equipped monster's attack before they were destroyed. So this is more of a setup card to rely on with basically destroying your opponent's monster and your own monsters and dealing damage to your opponent for what could potentially be the gameplay against your opponent. We really only need 2 of this card. It's more of a situational play and searchable with some of the other spells we already went over in the deck. So I really feel you only need the 2 to use, with the last of the traps being 2 Tindangle Duel Links. This one, when you take battle damage from an opponent's attacking monster while you have 3 or more Tindangle monsters with different names in your graveyard, you can destroy the attacking monster. If you do, special summon 1 Tindangle Acute Cerberus from your extra deck. And if you control no monsters in the extra monster zone, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 3 Tindangle monsters with different names in your graveyard and special summon them in face down defense position. So this is basically just to set up your Tindangle Acute Cerberus on the field, or if not that, 3 monsters in the graveyard back onto the field to not only use their flip summon resources, but also just to give you 3 monsters to summon out your Tindangle Acute Cerberus. I even considered dropping Gurgon's End to 1 and putting in a 3rd copy of Tindangle Duel Links, but this is more preference on if you just need more of a trap setup, since you're not relying on your monster plays as much and using these more for just the setup of your other spell and trap cards in the deck. And that is it for the main deck. We'll now move on to the extra deck. I run 3 Tindangle Acute Cerberus. It's the only Tindangle Link monster we have. It needs 3 Tindangle monsters, and it gains 3,000 attack if you have 3 or more Tindangle monsters with different names in your graveyard, including Tindangle Base Gardna. It gains 500 attack for each Tindangle monster that this card points to, and at the end of the battle phase, this card declares an attack. You can special summon 1 Tindangle token onto the field. So being able to provide that 1 Tindangle token to one of these zones this card points to can keep the setup going for all of your plays, and then rely on more of the destruction power for one of your other traps, including Gurgon's End, to inflict more damage to your opponent with it. I run 3 of it, so you always have the options to go into, because you can summon it out with the trap card. You can even summon it with your normal means of link summoning. You just always want to have this link monster to go into. It's your main boss monster in the deck by using all this setup. And with all of the search power we have with the new monster, you can do it just that much more quickly altogether. For more of the generic Link monsters, I also run 2 Clara and Rushka. This just needs 1 normal summon or set monster, so with it set on the field, you can just go into a Link monster and then just have more resources to go into your other Link plays. Let's say the monster was set by one of your cards, but then you end up needing it, let's say main phase 2, for a Link summon, being able to then use it for Wee Witch's Apprentice, back up, or even just going into some of the other options like Barricade Board Blocker, Nightmare Cerberus, Nightmare Phoenix, IP Masquerena, Master King Archfiend, Decode Talker, Triple Burst Dragon, or Nightmare Unicorn, and the last one being just the Link 4 option, which is Borolo Dragon. I went with all Link monsters in the deck because that's the majority with all the different level monsters you can rely on for your plays also. But as for some of the go-to setup with the new Tindangle Duels monster, once again, this card will set up your spell and traps in the graveyard. So with mostly, you need to have that special summon option with your Tindangle monsters on the field. So once you get your special summon, depending on with the special summon of any of your monsters, if you go with your Tindangle Angel first, and you flip up your Tindangle Duels, special summoning this card, you can then flip up, and once again, this can be set up even more if you have your spell card Stay or Males on the field, because then you can just discard this to set up even more in the graveyard while flipping up the Tindangle monsters you just summoned on the field. But the main point of Duels is to send the spell or trap of choice to the graveyard and then banish and discard another Tindangle monster to the graveyard, which will not only set up those monsters for when you link summon out your Acute Cerberus, having the different monsters in the graveyard for the attack boost, but also then giving you the option to banish these cards from the graveyard to search and activate the proper cards on the field for you to use also. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoy the video. I honestly can't remember. I don't think we have any other Tindangle support that still needs to be released that is currently out for the Yu-Gi-Oh card game. But if there is and I overlooked it, I'll definitely look forward to it. This is always a fun deck for me to update ever since it was released in Extreme Force. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira, Twig out.